evening, Nightwalkers, and welcome to yet another episode here at the Nightwalker channel. Do you remember that time when you had that cute little teddy beside you in your bed to keep you safe at night? Or maybe you had something else entirely, like a character from a Disney movie, or maybe a doll. But beware, as there are forces out there ready to possess your cute little teddy and hurt you really, really bad. For this week's episode, we will visit the two most haunted items, or should I say dolls in this case, who made movies like The Conjuring and Child's Play the most horrific ones there is. So, grab that cute little teddy of yours and let's head in for the world of the supernatural. Annabelle. Ever since the Conjuring film was released, followed by the Annabelle movie in 2014, rumors had swirled about the Warren duo. The Conjuring, and the true story behind the Annabelle doll. Was the real Annabelle doll quite as vindictive and evil as the doll in the film? Did the Warrens really keep a doll with a demon attached to it? Although the real-life Annabelle doll was a Raggedy Ann doll, nowhere near as frightening and in appearance as the porcelain doll in the film, many of the details were strikingly similar. Let's dive into the details and learn more about the Annabelle true story. The student nurse. The real Annabelle was given to Donna, who was a student nurse, as a birthday gift by her mother. One thing to remember, Annabelle was bought secondhand from a hobby store. She was living with her friend Angie at the time, and Donna was delighted with the gift at first, but the Conjuring doll quickly became a source of great fear for the girls. Annabelle made only very small movements to begin with. That could be put down to Donna and Angie accidentally moving her. For example, ending up on the floor instead of a chair, maybe she just fell off. Soon though, the movement started to increase and the doll started to move more. For example, she may have ended up on the couch instead of Donna's bed or outside Angie's door immediately after she was returned to Donna's room. Their close friend Lou was very nervous of the seemingly innocent Raggedy doll. He believed that she was evil or possessed, and that something needed to be done about it. But Donna and Annie were very progressive in their views and didn't think anything of the sort, and still believed that perhaps they were to blame for the movements of the doll. The notes. The Annabelle story quickly became more sinister. Soon, the girls started to find notes around their apartment. The strange thing was that the notes were written in parchment paper, and neither of the two girls had ever used parchment paper before. The notes said various things, but most commonly they said things like "Help us!" and "Help me!" The blood. Finally, the doll from The Conjuring, Annabelle, was found with blood on her hands. Donna came home from work one day and found the doll in her usual spot on her bed, which made a change. But, unfortunately, she had literal blood on her hands. It seemed almost like the blood or the red liquid, whatever it was coming from the doll itself. That was it. It was time for the girls to call in some help in form of a medium to find out just what was going on with this doll before things got worse. The first medium. The first medium sat down with the girls and Annabelle's scary doll, and the story that Donna and Angie were given was that the land on which their apartment complex was built used to be a field. A young girl, aged around 7 years old, was found dead many years before. When the doll came into their apartment, Annabelle's spirit was still in the area in which she died, and because she was fond of the doll, her spirit became one with it. Annabelle became Annabelle the doll. Unfortunately for the girls, Annabelle became Annabelle the haunted doll. Donna and Angie were very loving and giving. However, and because they were felt sorry for the poor girl, that had been found dead alone in that field. They wanted the doll to stay because they didn't want her to be left alone. Lou. Lou was the one who was attacked by Annabelle before the Warrens were called in. Maybe she didn't like him, or maybe he reminded her of a man who had treated her badly in life. But he was the one that she showed her true self to. A few things occurred, including some bad dreams and some visions of Annabelle. But the attack that made Donna and Angie call the Warrens was a physical one. Angie and Lou were spending some time together when they heard movement in Donna's room, but she wasn't at home. They were frozen in fear. At first, they were concerned about an intruder, but they quickly realized that the movement was in fact Annabelle. Lou took a look inside Donna's room, and there was no one inside, although the doll was sitting on a chair instead of sitting on the bed where she should have been. He walked towards Annabelle, and he started to get that creepy feeling, you know, when something is terribly, terribly wrong. He felt a terrible pain on his chest and realized that there were a series of claw marks, ranking marks like someone had leaped at him and roughly scratched him. No one was in the room, and so he knew that the marks must have come from Annabelle. What was stranger still about these scratches is that they healed straight away, and within just 2 days, there were no trace of them at all. The Warrens were then called in. The Warrens. A priest was called into the apartment along with the Warrens, and it was discovered that Annabelle's main goal was to take possession of Donna's soul. Annabelle was a demon. She was attached to the doll. The Warrens said that demons don't possess items or things. Instead, they possess people. The priest eventually exorcised the apartment, and the Warrens took Annabelle away with them. They both agreed that it would be best to drive home on the back roads, worried that if they drove on the main highways that Annabelle would find a way to cause an accident. Sure enough, they were plagued with car problems. The whole way home, the power steering failed, the brakes failed, and the engine of the car kept stalling. The problems chased for a little while. Once Ed Warren sprinkled Annabelle with some holy water. Once the pair got home, Ed put the doll on his desk, thinking that she'd be safe there for a little while. Soon, she showed them what she was really made of. Annabelle was seen rising above the desk, levitating on multiple occasions. Soon, that activity slowed down and stopped, and the Warrens thought that perhaps the demon had quieted, but she was soon found in different rooms of the house, moving around, and when the Warrens put her in one place, she would quickly be found in another. Ed and Lorraine called the priest, but he didn't seem to take it too seriously, and said to Annabelle that she couldn't hurt him because she was just a doll. That was a big mistake, because he was in a car accident on the way home. The car turned over, the brakes failed, and his car was completely written off. Although the priest was badly hurt, he did survive. Annabelle is still around today, residing in the locked glass case that the Warrens built to keep her from getting free and roaming around the house. There is a warning sign on the case saying, "Do not touch," as well as a cross. Some say that they see Annabelle moving around the case, waiting to get free. Annabelle, in The Conjuring, wreaked havoc on those around her, and the real Annabelle doll most definitely did the same. The Conjuring doll is one of the spookiest tales in modern history, where we talk about haunted objects, particularly because she had been kept behind locked glass, and particularly because the Warrens didn't manage to rid the doll of the demon. Annabelle is still available to you today. Would you dare to visit her and learn more about the Conjuring true story? Robert the Doll. Robert Eugene Otto, or Gene, as his family called him, was just a young boy in the early 1900s when his family's maid gave him a strange straw-filled doll to play with. Jean loved this life-size doll and brought it along everywhere, even naming it Robert after himself. It wasn't long, however, before people began noticing signs of Robert the Doll's evil and mischievous nature. As rumor has it, the Ottos and their servants would often hear Jean in his bedroom having conversations with himself in two entirely different voices. Furthermore, the Ottos would wake up in the middle of the night to Jean's screaming, only to find the frightened boy in bed, surrounded by overturned furniture. Jean would blame Robert the doll for messing up the bedroom, while Robert would glare at Jean from the foot of the bed. Soon, after mutilated toys and mysterious happening would appear in the home, only to have Jean proclaim each time, "Robert did it!" Though the Ottos didn't quite believe Jean, it was reported that they could hear the eerie sound of Robert giggling around the house, and passersby even claimed to see a small doll moving from window to window. Robert eventually moved to the attic, where he remained for a number of years. Jean inherited his family's key West Mansion after his parents passed, at which time Robert the doll returned to his old bedroom. Jean turret room on the second floor. By then, Jean had been working as an artist, and local folklore insists that Jean would spend his days alone in his mansion, painting with his old friend Robert. Jean eventually married, and many tales of his wife's disdain for Robert arose. Conflicting rumors surfaced, some alleging that Jean's wife died from insanity after locking Robert in the attic, while others report that Jean died with Robert by his side. Today, Jean's residence operates as a bed and breakfast called the Artist House, and visitors can even stay in the old turret bedroom. Robert the doll now lives at the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, where some believe his hair color and soul are both slowly fading. Visitor beware though, as Robert's current favorite mischievous act involves casting curses on those who take his photo without first asking permission. To date, the walls near his glass case are covered in numerous letters from previous visitors and naysayers begging for Robert's forgiveness and asking him to remove any hex he has cast. Alright, my fellow Nightwalkers, I've been listening to a lot of stories about this creature lately that is called the Wendigo, and I'm thinking about doing some background on that next week and read some stories about that monster. I've heard a really scary one lately from the Supernaturalist that a guy actually lost his friend to that creature, and that really gave me the chills. I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to all that kind of stuff because you never know what's lurking out there in the wilderness. So, don't forget, if you want to send me your own scary story, you can do that by sending an email to nightwalkerstories@hotmail.com. It could be your own experience story or a certain creepypasta you want me to read. So, I hope I hear from you soon. So, see you next week. And don't forget, don't be afraid of the dark, but be afraid of what's lurking inside of it.